Hello everybody and welcome to the video. Today we're here in the Giants Keep Abyss Hard stage, and I'm going to be giving you guys a couple free-to-play teams that you can use to clear Abyss Hard. All of these teams should be completely farmable. Everyone has a chance to get these units, or not a chance, it's not really a chance. You will obtain these units. But some of these units are going to be a little bit more difficult to obtain, but again, completely farmable. You should be able to get these relatively easy. So, before we actually get into the teams, I want to state a couple things. First things first, by fast, I mean anywhere from a minute to a minute 30. If you want under a minute teams, you're going to have to start going out of the box. You're going to start having to use units that you're going to have to summon. Unless there's a team that I just don't know about. But to me, I think a minute 30 is pretty good. So, with that being said, let's go into the skills really quickly, because I know you guys know what the Giant does, but just in case, for those of you who don't, I'm going to tell you guys anyways. So, skill 1 causes a rock slide to attack all enemies. This attack has a fixed chance to stun them for one turn. I don't think I've really been stunned. Maybe I just haven't seen it, but I don't think this fixed chance is really that powerful. I don't know. But this is completely different from the B10 floor if you haven't gone into Giant's Abyss yet. In the regular Giants floor in B10, this is a single target attack, while this is an AoE. Skill 2 causes an earthquake to inflict great damage on all enemies, reducing their attack speed for 3 turns. This has been pretty much the same, but this is going to do big damage. He's going to do tons of big damage because all of it's AoE. So even your nukers, your squishies are going to be taking big hits. So you got to think about that when building your team. His passive counterattacks all enemies immediately after the 7th attack. In B10, all this does is counterattack one enemy, so now all your units get attacked. So you really got to avoid using multi-hits unless you have a team that could just take tons of damage from the Giant, which early on, if you're looking at this video, I doubt you do. His crystals, the left one, increases the boss's attack power for 3 turns, and the left one decreases the defense of all enemies for 2 turns. I swear to God, I'm going to keep stuttering. And in the Abyss Hard stage, if you haven't looked at it, you should. But friend monsters can't be used. You can't use duplicates. And you cannot put dots. So, if you're trying to build a dot team for Giants Keep Abyss, it's not going to work. I mean, a lot of people are going to be really disappointed. But, without any further ado, let's put our first team together. Okay, so here we have the first team, and I already know the first thing that you're saying out loud is, holy crap, that's a lot of 2As. 2 things. 1, 2 of these 2As are not even required. They're optional. And then 2, there's a specific route you can go with these 2As. So let's talk about number 1. Shannon and Bella Dion do not need to be 2A'd. It is completely optional. The only reason I did it is because their 2As are useful. It will help you in completing Giants. It will help you anywhere you decide to use these units. Not only that, it gives them more survivability. I just think, hey, you know what? It's a good trade-off. I'm 2A'ing them to get more stats, and it kind of helps with the Giants runs. It's not necessary, but it does help. So with Shannon, all it really does is it allows her to absorb attack bars. And when you think about this when going into any dungeon at all, especially like the Giants Keep, think about what her attack bar absorption is doing. It's preventing the Giant from moving, so he's not using this second skill. It's preventing the crystals from moving, so he's not getting an attack buff. It prevents you guys from being debuffed with the defense break. It really is helpful. The same thing with her skill 1. And it also helps with the waves, because the waves aren't moving, which means your team is being frozen less. It could still be frozen, it could still be stunned, but it means it's happening less often, or it's happening at a later date. I'm pushing the inevitable back a little bit. And the same thing is pretty much with Bella Dion, where if you look at Bella Dion, her skill 1 decreases attack bar, which again helps with the Giant. And then skill 2, instead of just being able to strip, she'll strip the enemy, and if the enemy doesn't have any beneficial effects to take off, she recovers her attack bar. So she's getting her turns a little bit faster, which means you get heals faster and defense breaks faster. Overall, really good. And about the second thing about which routes you would go, in my opinion, I'd say if you're going to 2A any of these units, Naomi's the one you go for first. Reason being is because Crow still has damage in his kit before his 2A. It's just maybe not as good. So for the first week and a half, maybe you're going to still be farming relatively slow, but after a week and a half, it's really not a big deal. Just day 1 or day 2, choose to farm either Naomi or Crow. You'll probably farm Crow first, to be honest, because getting Naomi and her skilled up is going to be a lot more difficult than getting Crow skilled up in 2-8. So, who knows? Switch between the two. Do Crow first. It really doesn't matter. Eventually, you'll get them both 2-8. It's just a matter of time. But other than that, let's talk about runes and their purpose being here. So, we'll be through this really quickly, I promise. So, Veramos, he's obviously your leader. Good HP lead. Helps with survivability. Cleansing, healing, attack bar pushing. This is going to be helpful specifically for the defense break and the Giants floor, and you get a little bit of healing from him. Skill 2, AoE, big damage. You're going to want to build him on damage because of the enemy's max HP thing. He helps with the waves because he can stun them, and if you can't stun the target, or if the target's just not stunned, he will decrease their attack bar, which is important because you can't stun the boss of any of these dungeons, really. So he's going to decrease the Giant's attack bar, which is helpful for preventing him from doing anything to you guys. And then skill 1 doesn't really do anything. Now, big thing about Veramos' runes, you want to go speed, crit damage, HP percent in the beginning, and then later on when you get tons of runes, you go attack percent. If you take a good long look at my runes, slot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, they all have very specific stats. This one has, obviously, all the runes have everything you need for crit rate and crit damage, as you can see, except this one. This one is a crit damage rune. This one has crit rate, crit damage. This one has crit rate, crit damage. And then they either have attack percent, accuracy, or defensive stats, like defense or HP. So it allows me to land on my stuff and then survive more often. In the beginning, you're just throwing on whatever runes you get. For me, I threw on what runes were the best runes I had for him. So it's a little bit different. So for me, I can afford to put on attack percent, but in the beginning, you can't. You're going to throw on attack percent, and he might win a lot of your battles, but there's going to be 1 or 2 every 10 times repeat battles that he's going to die. And if he dies, that's a really big deal because you're losing your cleansing, you're losing attack bar reduction, and you're losing a big source of damage. So speed, crit damage, HP percent, get enough crit rate to at least hit 75% to 80% crit rate, and then go nothing but HP percent and then accuracy, if you can. If you can get a little bit of attack percent, that's fine, but worry about surviving first, because he'll still get big damage whether he's critting or not. It's just important that he survives, and then his artifacts are HP. For Crow and Naomi, or Crow specifically, in the beginning, attack, crit damage, HP percent, or vice versa, where slot 2 is HP and then slot 6 is attack percent. Reason being is because in the beginning, your runes aren't that crazy. So when the boss counterattacks, and remember, the boss counterattacks and he'll AoE everyone regardless of when he's attacking. AoE here, AoE here, AoE here. Crow's going to get hit. And Crow, regardless of him being 2A, because 2A units have tons of stats, he's going to get hit. And I've seen that boss nuke units. You want him to at least have some HP to where he's surviving, even if it's with a sliver of health. I can't tell you the massive difference that I had when I had him on attack, crit damage, HP percent. So, do that. Do the same thing with Naomi. Attack, crit damage, HP percent. Again, I could switch over now because I have better runes. I mean, look at her runes. Attack percent. Either has attack percent, crit damage, or HP percent, or maybe even speed. Flat attack, flat HP, flat defense, all these are really amazing things as well. But if you look at these substats, these are exactly the substats that I want on her. Speed is irrelevant in my opinion, because I won't ever use her in, PvP or anything like that. But it works, right? So you see, she almost has 200% crit damage. She has well over 2k bonus attack, and then over 12k bonus HP. I mean, she's doing pretty well for herself. For Bella Dion, Swift Energy, I have her on Fight because I can afford to do that. But here are her runes: Speed, HP, or Speed, HP, Defense. I think Speed, HP, Defense because eventually you will use her in places like Abyss. So keep that in mind. And if you don't believe, by the way, I know these stats probably look a little... I've seen some people say that my stats are crazy on some of these units. In my opinion, Trust me, it's like we have videos of me using this. I mean, this was an account we built not too long ago. So you could easily go and watch. We'll do this. You could easily go back and watch when we were using these teams. The teams do work. So go back and watch that if you want. The same thing with Shannon. Shannon is Despair and then Energy. You could, again, I threw on Fight Runes, so this works. The Fight Runes help with extra attack, speed, HP, or speed, HP defense. But I make up all that defense in the substats. So let's not waste too much time. Let's get into the fight for, finally, right? So Bella Dion, I want to talk about her for a little bit. When we were first making this account, we were going to use Royd, which is the Wind Vagabond, but then one of you guys suggested we throw her in, and she's much better than Royd because she's consistent with the defense breaks. Plus we get a heal and a strip at the same time. So she's much better than Royd, especially since Royd just pushes out tons of attacks. But as you can see, consistent defense break. And then it's a really safe team. Look at that. Tons of stuns. It's really good. Most of your support units in the beginning, you're going to want to throw on Despair regardless, because just preventing the enemy from moving is a really big deal. Shannon is also really important. Shannon is like, Shannon is like a minimum wage worker, if I had to make that, if I had to point out what she looked like, right? If I had to make any correlation, she's like a minimum wage worker. She's the foundation of pretty much everything. The glancing, the defense buff, the attack buff, everything. It's just, a lot of people don't notice her, or people rag on her all the time. They're like, oh, she's not that great. You don't need to do. She's really helpful. I think the most you can argue is that you just don't need to ever 6-star her because she's just that good. She's just that tanky. But I can't. You have to be 6-starred on my team. But there we go. 1 minute 24. On average, I see about a minute 17-ish. But, or not on average. The best time I've seen is a minute 17. But a minute 24 is pretty freaking good. So let's move on to the next team, shall we? Okay, so here we have the next team. Now, the next team only has one monster that has changed. We take out Crow and we put in a unit called Aamir, which is the Wind Ifrit. Now, the reason we do this, I want to just make a disclaimer now, is that we only have so many options, for free-to-play units that everyone can get before we just start making nonsense. Like, I could sit here and be like, oh, use the Wind, Charger Shark. The Wind Charger Shark does this, but it's just like, it doesn't make sense. Why replace something that isn't broken, right? So Veramos, Bella Dion, Naomi, and Shannon, you will use all of these units, not only here, but in other places. So why not use them? Aamir, on the other hand, he's a little bit more difficult to obtain, though, than these other units. So we'll go to where you can obtain him, just in case you don't know where to obtain him. And then we'll talk about him a bit, because there is some stuff we need to talk about concerning this unit. Okay, so here we are in the guild shop. You can obtain him through the Ifrit summoning pieces. Now, there is a level of luck to it, but inevitably you can get him, because you can just buy the pieces. You buy 100 of these pieces, which, let's see, how many is that? Is that literally 3,000 pieces? I believe it's 3,000 pieces, limited to 50 pieces a week, which shouldn't be that hard. Make sure you do your guild content, guys. You want this guy. And then when you do summon this scroll, you do have a chance to get either the water, wind, or fire. I got him on the first try, which I'm blessed by, or I feel blessed. But all the attributes are really good. So don't ask if they're good or not. They are. People are gonna ask anyways. It doesn't matter. But let's go back. Okay, so a couple things about Aamir is that he does have a speed lead. If you want to use that over Veramos's, if you feel like your rune quality is good enough, I would suggest doing so. I mean, we could literally do it now. We're going to get more damage because Veramos and Aamir are based off of speed on their skill 1, so they might get more damage off of that. Not only that, your units will just move faster than the boss. But Aamir, you can build him on Despair as well. You can build him pretty much dead the same like you would Veramos. I built mine a little bit different. So here's speed, crit damage, HP %. I want a little bit of survivability. His runes aren't as good as Veramoss's. I would need to work on his runes a little bit more. But overall, he's okay. Attack, and the artifacts. The biggest thing about him that I want to tell you guys straight off the bat is skill ups. Skill ups, while it doesn't necessarily matter, you can still win with a Aamir. You'll find that until you get him skilled up, Crow is a better replacement. Crow is better than him until he is skilled up. When I first started using a Aamir on these exact runes, a Aamir, the clear times when using him over Crow were about a minute 50. Because, of course, he's getting these off way less. I believe this was every 4 turns and this was like every 5 turns or something. It's just, you're using it, he's using them way less, so you're just using skill 1 a ton. So, of course, his run times, again, a minute 50 on average. After his skill ups, it was a minute 20. Straight up. I think the fastest time we had was about a minute 17. Or a minute 18, around that time. So, keep that in mind. I think his skill ups are really important. I'm glad I invested into it because you get these 2 every 3 turns. So, let's read through it real quick. Skill 2 is the same as Veramoss's, where he attacks an enemy based off of the enemy's max HP, stuns them, decreases attack bar if he doesn't stun them. Skill 3 is different though, where he attacks all enemies with powerful magic energy. The damage increases by 30% for each harmful effect on the enemy. The damage increases by 50% if there's only 1 harmful effect on the enemies. So, he can get out a pretty good amount of damage. Of course, I would recommend eventually switching him to Rage Blade, the same as Veramoss. But I barely have any Rage Blade runes. Like, look at this. This is like the best Rage Blade set I have right here. And then Kali, or not Kali, but Spectra, where I switched him around, so he doesn't have that good speed, but he has a Rage Blade set. And I think maybe Kali. I'm working on Kali, so don't laugh. Okay, yeah, you see I replaced one of her runes, but don't have that many Rage sets. So, throw him on Rage eventually, but let's see the run. A Aamir, let's talk about him for a little bit. Again, you can throw him on Despair. I think that's probably more of a recommended thing because it allows for more control in the waves, but you don't necessarily need it at this point. By the time you summon a Aamir, I think you're well past needing good crowd control. I think you're pretty set on that with Veramoss and Shannon. But you can see that he gets out a good amount of damage. I mean, attack bar manipulation skill 2 with enemies max HP damage, and then skill 3 does damage based off of harmful effects. So you get like the best of both Crow and Veramoss. But Despair would be a really big deal because again, it would help with the wave. But and it would help with runes too, because you saw I had him on Fatal Blade. So many units in the beginning need Fatal Blade that you'd be, honest to God, saving yourself a set if you threw him on Despair. But you could see 24k right there on skill 3. And that was off of 1 debuff, I believe. And skill 2, 81k. That was really good. 28k skill 1. And that's why we throw him on HP percent. That actually did he do like 10% of the boss's health with skill 1? There we go, a minute 15. That was not bad at all. So, there you go. That was team number 2. Aamir, I'm so glad I summoned him. Let's move on to the final team. Okay, so here we are. As you can see, the same units we've talked about all video. Veramoss is replaced with Crow. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, I don't recommend that at all. But let me tell you why it's actually not that bad. So we're going to do this right here. Boop, boop, boop. Hello. We're going to go to record. As you can see, my fastest team is actually this team. So the way this works is we take out Veramoss. We do lose a cleanse. We do lose a bit of healing and maybe attack bar manipulation. But we're getting attacked anyways. That's how I see it. And the attack bar manipulation is not that big of a deal since we're just going to be bursting down the giant. So what we get here is that we're going to get team up. Imagine Crow teams up with anyone. The worst combination he can get is teaming up with Bella, Dion, and Shannon. And even then, it's still going to have some damage being done. The best combination is he could team up with is Aamir and Naomi. So he's going to get a bit of damage out. There's a more consistent form of damage, where Veramoss, while he has damage skill 2, skill 1 he doesn't really have damage. Crow, he has skill 3 for damage, skill 2, and skill 1 at least places a defense break. Aamir does good damage. I think it's a little bit more riskier, but I think it's pretty good. I've done multi-runs on this, so if this fails, I'm going to be surprised, because honest to God, it has not failed yet. So, we do gain more damage, and I think when doing my 10 times, the worst it has gotten is when Crow dies, because Crow will die sometimes. Because, of course, you don't have cleansing, so defense break and the boss doing what it has to do, it's not good, right? But even then, they'll still win. It's just the time goes from like a minute 17 or a minute 20 to like a minute 40. So you're adding 20 seconds every blue moon, right? But it's still an okay team, right? So if I take a look at it, because I took screenshots earlier. Yeah, I took it on my other phone that I actually use. The average runtime is about a minute 27. The best clear time, which is what you guys saw, was a minute 13. And it takes 14 minutes to do it 10 times. While the other ones were 15 minutes. So, with Vero and Aamir, so the team I showed you beforehand, there goes Crow. With Vero and Aamir, it takes 14 minutes and 39 seconds. With this team, it takes 14 minutes and 34 seconds. So you saw a minute 22, not bad at all. And we could probably do one more run just to show it off. But I think when looking at a 10 times, he dies 3 times out of the 10 times. And yeah, as you can see, it really does not affect the run, since we still have 2 damage dealers who could take pretty good hits. Belladon is very necessary for this, because Belladon is the one who brings heals. If it weren't for the heals and attack bar pushing, and even her strips and defense breaks, we would probably be losing. So, it's a really good team in my opinion. And you can see, it's just the wave clear is really good. But I think this is probably like peak free-to-play, because all of these units you should be able to obtain, right? I mean, you can't really get more free-to-play than this. And I know somebody might be inclined to say, oh, well, you can, if you use the beginner summoners event, the Nat 4 event in the beginning that all new players get to summon this unit, you could use him. And it's just like, don't hit me with that. I'm going to assume that every player has, whether or not they're playing day 1 or day 576, they could build this team, regardless of who they picked or what they might have picked in the past. So, because all these you could obtain, regardless. So, I think it's a pretty decent team. And then here you go. You see they survived that one. Let's see what happens. Oop. They survived that. Let's see what the time is. They're pretty good, see? A minute 21. So on average about a minute 20. A minute 27 is the average. That's not bad. I don't know. It depends on how it rolls. If it rolls like attack percent, I don't know. But if it rolls like defense percent, that'd be good. But those are the teams for you. So, again, I've shown you guys how they're ruined. I've shown you guys the importance of skill ups and all that stuff. I hope you find this video really helpful. I will be doing a video soon of not so free to play teams for Giants Keep Abyss. That you guys still may be able to build. I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting video when we do that one, but I hoped I helped you guys in this video. If you were struggling with Giants to Keep Abyss hard, or if you were starting an account and you're like, hey, I don't know what to aim for, there you go. I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.